Hello and welcome. This is the launch of the podcast that we have decided to call Wise-Mind Fireside Chats, Unveiling Inner Wisdom. But as one of our guests, Assia, has pointed out, things will always be abbreviated. So rather than be left with whatever you guys decide to call it, we've decided that that can be abbreviated to Wi-Fi chats. So welcome, hello. Co-hosting and leading the podcast is Gaby Tzeschlock, who will be no stranger to any of you. And our guests today are Erika Nadeau and Assia K. What we're going to talk about is part of the title. How do we unveil inner wisdom? And what does that even mean? So I'm going to pass it over to Gaby. She can say hi to you all and give us some reflections on that while our guests have time to think.
Hello, everybody. And I'm really excited. Our podcast is launching. We talked about it quite a while. And what does it actually mean? Why do we even do the podcast? And I think the idea really is to talk in the podcast about this inner wisdom. It's important to me because nowadays there's so much information out there. There is so much advice out there. There are self-help books, and we get bombarded with all those ideas of other people, and we take them on board because we want to help ourselves. But is it even a wise choice? Are we still actually in a good space when we start to take 5-step programs from other people to solve our own lives and problems? What is it about our own experiences and our own wisdom we can reflect on and actually build on our lives rather than take all this advice in from outside? And I think this is why it's so important for me personally, because I'll give you an example to make it more tangible. For a while, everybody was talking about this book, The 5 a.m. Club. Get up at 5 and your life will be solved because everything will be perfect. And yes, for many people, it is the perfect solution because they're early birds, they love getting up early, and they're fired up in the morning. Now, try and track me out at 5 a.m. in the morning. You will have a little demon on your hand, and I can promise you it will not work. I do my best work sometimes 9 o'clock to midnight, where I really go in, work deep, create even workshops. That's me, that suits me. And I think that's what it is about for me. Having podcasts just to bring out ideas and then being able to reflect on it. Okay, does that work for me? What's my experience? What is me? That's really what is me, which helps me in my own life towards my own solutions and goals. Yeah.
Thanks, Gaby. And I know that one of us is a regular 5 a.m. club member. It's definitely not me. I'm with your side of the clock, Gaby. So Erika, come and say hello and tell us why the 5 a.m. club works for you.
Hello, good morning. It's actually 7 a.m. for me right now, but I've been up since 5:30 a.m. today, and today's Saturday. So I have choice to stay in bed if I wanted to today, but somehow here I am up. 5 a.m. works for me because it's quiet. It's quiet and there's nobody else around who possibly could need anything from me, right? So that is why I find it to be my time. There's space for me to move about the cabin. There's nobody else that I have to contend with or attend to except for me and the things that I want to get done or need to get done, or simply just want to sit and enjoy listening to the birds without feeling interrupted. So I'm very productive in the morning. Then I hit a little bit of a in the midday, and then sometimes, depending on the day, I can get some energy later at night. But definitely the morning is more production for me. And I know that just because I know what works for me. Going back to what Gaby said about knowing what works for you and that inner wisdom. I think you only build that by building trust in yourself, right? You have to be able to trust yourself to know that you are intuitively It's all about intuition for me, going to do what serves you best. And when we look outwards to all those, 5 steps and self-help books, it's just focusing externally on something that we already know internally. So that answer your question?
It does, thank you. I couldn't have strung that together at 7:30. I'm not sure I could paraphrase it accurately now at just gone 12. But something that you and Gaby have both mentioned there is having the ability to be on your own, having time to yourself, which suggests that in order to be able to listen to that inner voice, there is a requirement for some kind of stillness. And you've both identified which parts of the day work best for you. So, Assia, come say hello. What time of the day works best for you? Do you even hear the inner voice of wisdom?
That's 2 very separate questions, I would suggest. Hello. In my experience, I've tried both. I've tried waking up early for the sake of joining the club, and I haven't tried, it was natural for me to work late nights. I suggest the essence of the joy of not being bothered is present both in 5 a.m. and 2 a.m. clubs. I did enjoy the most these late night coding sessions solely because nobody was bothering me from my work, and I kind of learned that late night means productivity. What I also found interesting is that lately I've been doing quite the opposite, and I've been trying to tackle the in the spirit of eat the frog principle, tackling most tenacious tasks in the morning while I still have this, I'm gonna do a lot of stuff today. And it has been working for me, but what is the most interesting is that I had this limiting belief that I'm only productive at night because I'm an engineer and my theme in the environment is dark, and I'm supposed to sit in the dark and do all that stuff. So sitting in a room full of light while their birds are singing and doing something coding related felt quite unnatural. And somehow, without a conscious thought, I decided, what if I challenge myself and learn and allow myself to be productive in an unusual time for that? You caught me in the middle of it. When you texted, come join the podcast, I was like, phew. And I can't say I'm the most productive myself now, but I do enjoy this flexibility and allowing myself to explore and not confining myself into these frames that I'm an owl, so I'm supposed to wake up whenever. It's about learning to listen to your body, to your mind, to your state, and especially not confining yourself in any of the labels, because on some days you can be as productive as you can in the morning, sometimes in the evening, sometimes neither. So if you're allowing yourself, just listening to your body while still knowing that if you have to, you can discipline yourself into doing it at any time. But if you have a choice, if you have an option of this freedom, why not explore it in a fluid form? I see you nodding. That's nice.
I find it so interesting that just no matter the time of day, right? Like somehow we're talking about why inner wisdom and what we know works for us and productivity. But for me, what I'm hearing, the common thread is that early morning, late at night, there's a common theme of quiet, stillness, nobody's needing me other than me kind of thing. So I think just coming back to the topic here of like knowing your inner wisdom, it's blaringly obvious to me that we all know we need some time for ourselves to be able to focus in and be still on whatever it is that we want to be doing. It's interesting.
Interesting as well is that we each are kind of in our best spaces. and that's one of the beauties of being able to connect with people as we do globally, because you're there at your happy time, Erika. We've literally pulled Assia from whatever, I don't even want to know, mind-boggling feat she was coding, and Gaby and I are quite happy in the middle of our day, having walked our dogs. Mine made a little guest appearance wandering across behind me. I apologise for her lack of manners. But she's a much loved member of our little group. So I agree that there's that peace and stillness part. And for me, actually, on those occasions, like at the moment when we've got more light in the Northern Hemisphere, being awake late, because I am a bit of a later person, and then going out as dawn is breaking, it's the waking up to see the dawn breaking that I struggle with. But going out in that peace of nature and just knowing, and something that we've all talked about is this knowing. So the next question for me is, what is that knowing? Where does it come from? And how do you find that intuition, which is this inner wisdom? So whoever wants to tackle that can unmute and go for it.
You know what, for me, that comes back to the quietness we all talked about, because I had the same experience there like Erika. I thought it's interesting that when we think of inner wisdom and reflecting and intuition, that we automatically all thought of peace, quiet, me time, where we can sit back. And I'm wondering, because I'm asking the questions a lot lately, when have you done the last time purposefully nothing? Because we are so engrossed in busyness all day long and to-do lists. It's almost like we draw our self-worth from being able to say, oh, I have a full program from 6 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. in the night. Sometimes I even have the feeling when it comes to exercises like yoga or meditation, sometimes people say to me, oh no, I have to go, at 6 o'clock I have a yoga class, right? And they're almost stressed out going to a yoga class. So the question is to be able to even touch into our inner wisdom and let it really talk and reflect on it, is the first point, the stillness, where we allow ourselves to step away from the busyness. Because there was some research that we get most creative if we even sit down for 15 minutes and just do nothing, literally nothing. Not purposely meditating on it, just literally nothing. Sit on a bench, look out, do nothing. How often do we allow us to do that? And is it really necessary to actually even be able to start tapping into it?
You know, this is I feel like my intuition personally, for me, I'm constantly in this everyday engagement with wanting to hear my intuition, because I feel like I live my life with my intuition, really. And sometimes it's just automatic, where I just do what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. There's not a lot of cognitive thought. Like, I'm not even aware that I'm actually thinking through what I'm doing. I naturally know what I'm wanting to be doing. But there are other times where I think that I'm disconnected from it, right? But the more that I engage in this conversation with myself, the more I'm realizing my intuition is always talking. It is always talking. It's not a matter of if it's talking, it's how willing am I to actually hear what's being said. That's the key for me, because it's like always running in the background. It's one of those programs that's just always there. And so when things come easy and naturally to me, I'm just flowing through. And that's my intuition, really, because I'm not thinking about it. When I'm in a struggle or a conflict or like putting a block in front of myself, that's me unwilling to listen to my intuition. This is what I'm learning. Yeah, I just think it's always there. It's always there. And it gets stronger the closer you become to doing the inner trusting and loving of yourself and getting true in yourself, the louder it is, and the less work it is really to live your life. This is what I'm coming to lately. This is what my evidence is pointing towards.
I like that. Maybe the stillness is us giving us the opportunity to actually listen to ourselves. And I like the idea that even when we're in work, even if we're able to take just 3 minutes out and say, oh, hold on, what's happening, and listening to your inner voice, to actually tap in. And the next question then beckons, do we tend to be so busy not to have to listen to ourselves?
Assia.
I was just thinking how it's convenient to allow yourself to be still when it's 4 a.m. and there is literally no one to bother you, or 2 p.m. or whatever the time of day for you is. And I was thinking of my initial frustration with meditation, how it's being portrayed by those monks in mountains. And I was this pissed off girl who was like, I could do meditation there. I'm here and everybody's bothering me. And there is sounds, there are sirens, there is everything. Like, how am I supposed to meditate here? And I came to a realization that it's less about the environment. It is important, but I'm also thinking, when Gaby is talking about this state of stillness and doing nothing, for me personally, the key aspect of it would be less in finding the environment or circumstances or good atmosphere around me to be still, but rather in the permission to just stop. So I know I'm consciously pushing myself to do everything at once, and this is my personal struggle to learn how to moderate that. But the key aspect in that doesn't sit with me in terms of I'm still yet to learn is to allow myself, to give myself that permission to just do nothing, instead of just forcing myself to do nothing and just sitting through that for 15 minutes and then be done with it. Just allowing it. It's difficult to say, for me at least, just to do nothing. And then what? Like, how do I know I was being productive doing nothing? Like, how do I measure my nothingness? Like, what are the metrics? How do I know I succeeded at doing nothing? You know what I mean? So it's interesting key in that contradiction towards your personal limited belief that you have to keep going all of the time.
I'm just going to invite in another guest. This is Brett Corcoran joining us from New York.